email? What does it mean?
Communication is the imparting or exchanging of information or news.
The single biggest problem in communication is the illusion that it has taken place.
Conversation is the oral exchange of sentiments, observations, opinions, or ideas.
Forbes Books Radio presents The Conversation with Clinton M. Padgett.
Today I'm pleased to have with me Dr. Olga Kubassova, founder and CEO at Image Analysis Group, a leading AI-powered drug development and precision medicine company whose goal is to accelerate novel drug development by using the right analytical tools and modern trial infrastructure. She's an active researcher, co-author of 60-plus publications, scientific advisor, and mathematician with over 10 years of expertise in actively managing innovation in life science companies, asset positioning, strategy, and capital raising. She's a 4-time winner of National and International Entrepreneur of the Year awards. It's pretty impressive. Her ambition is to bring truly disruptive technologies, AI, and the best of machine learning to clinical practice and research. Olga, thank you for joining us on the podcast today.
Thank you very much for having me.
It's my pleasure. So to kick things off, I like to think about the people who come on the show as kind of being superheroes, and we know every superhero has a backstory. So what's your backstory?
Well, my backstory, I suppose because I never had a way back. I was born in Kazakhstan. And, in a small town, it was pretty cold there, minus 40 Celsius in the winter. And luckily, I got recruited into physics and mathematics school at the age of 14. So we moved to capital of Kazakhstan, Almaty. And that's where I received my degree in physics, mathematics, and luckily, again, university came to recruit the gold finalists in Kazakhstan. If you're about to finish with all excellent marks, you get the gold medal, like in Olympics. So I got recruited by St. Petersburg State University into Department of Mathematics. So my way back was to Kazakhstan, which was no-go, right? Then during my time, it was perestroika time, and obviously doing mathematics was very exciting, but there was no jobs for mathematicians. I mean, there were jobs in call centers or McDonald's, and I'm not actually sure McDonald's existed at the time, maybe it did. So there was really no way back into sort of, using your degree, your knowledge for something which would be useful for society. So about 4 years into my 6 years degree in mathematics, I found IT degree in Finland. And Finland, Lappeenranta, is about 4 or 5 hour drive from St. Petersburg. Many people don't know about it and probably don't have to know about it. But that degree was given away for a mathematician to apply to computer science. So for the last 2 years, I was doing 2 master degrees, one in Finland, one in Russia. The Finnish one was in English and had something to do with satellite image compression. In Russia, I was doing a degree on mathematical modeling of something very sophisticated, but not very practical. So, and yet again, when you look back and you think about it, there were literally no jobs for anybody with computer science or mathematics degree back in St. Petersburg. So I was persevering to find a job in Finland, and I was offered a job by NASA, who were actually sponsors of the project I was working with. And my kind of way would have been to Wisconsin. But at the same time, I found a PhD. It was advertising for a PhD post in the University of Leeds in England. So yet again, as you could see, no jobs was the only ways forward. So I applied for a PhD, and I remember my email, which said, I am a mathematician and a computer scientist. I have 2 degrees, both with honors. I have, I think, 8 papers, and I'd like to do PhD. I don't mind which country or which subject. And somebody replied to that crazy email. So that was University of Leeds. So they got me accepted, and I turned up, I remember 20th of October, 2004, and speaking to my supervisor about what I'm going to be doing. And turned out it's going to be medical imaging, radiology imaging, and application was inflammatory disease, rheumatoid arthritis. The advantage was that university was right next to the hospital. And so as images were coming from the hospital, and my PhD in computer science was to solve clinical problems such as patient is moving on a scanner, or the images is coming in such a way that you can't easily capture the information encoded in the images. So you need to color code some of this information and kind of represent it in an accessible way. By the end of my PhD, I had a book with about 8 chapters, each with an algorithm. My viva lasted, I think, 10 hours, and it was on my birthday. So I still remember that. But then, yet again, the no backstory. There were no jobs for people without permanent visa in the UK. So my options were go back somewhere or start my own company. So here we are. That was me. I was 26.
All right. Well, so tell me about the image analysis group. What's the role? What's your purpose?
So, I'll continue on that. So, during my PhD, what we have discovered is that quantitative imaging, what we call AI right now, but for somebody who's been doing computer science, mathematics, it's quantification of things. It's really understanding that information in a slightly different way, intelligent way, maybe artificial intelligence, maybe slightly different take on things like, augmented intelligence. That was a big deal for a long time. I know it's only picked up by industry in the last few years, but actually it's extremely useful kind of momentum, I suppose, to understand your own data. So my PhD was about that, understanding data encoded in images and presenting it in a better way. On the way, I met a team of radiologists in multiple hospitals. One was in Italy, one was in Denmark, people were in the US. So we had a small kind of group of people who were sending me their data, and I was processing it, and we were looking at it and kind of being amazed at each other how nice we can see the information about patient response to drug or patient progress. And so by the end of my PhD, they said, well, it would be a real shame if you're now going to just drop the PhD, research, and move on, do something else. So we applied for a grant from a local development agency called Yorkshire Forward. And we received that grant. That was £20,000. With that money and plus my own savings, I started the company. And the idea was to build software which will just do one thing. You put an image in, you press a button, you get some color map out. It was very simple. And my first customer was obviously the hospitals who were, helping me out with their data. They convinced the heads of department to buy the first licenses of our platform, Dynamica. So long story short, for the first 5 years, we were selling software, and software was a platform technology allowing to quantify medical images. That was until we came across one of our customers who were a pharmaceutical company telling us, would you be able to also collect these images? Because, we're not getting them in a very efficient way. So we said, so how do you do it right now, 2015? We were sending CDs to each other. So somebody acquires an image, and in order for somebody else to look at that image, they receive it on CD, put on their computer, and look it up. That was the time before cloud platforms became much more used in our industry. So we were the first company to create a cloud-based platform and a library of methodologies which would allow us to process data, collect it, and process it in an intelligent way. And that was the real beginning of what Image Analysis Group is today. So today we are a leading provider of services and expertise to pharmaceutical companies and biotech companies who need imaging data management and imaging data processing and understanding in drug development.
Okay. So a circuitous route you've taken.
Precisely.
So what would you say has been the most challenging thing about your career so far?
Well, I only had one job, being the CEO of the company, right? And for the duration of my job, pretty much everybody tells me that at some point CEO has to step out and, give somebody else a chance to build the company. So every day in this company feels like a new day and a new stage and a new era, for sure, every year. So we're growing roughly 100% a year for a few years. COVID knocked us down to 30% growth, but it's pretty tremendous in this industry.
That's pretty good, actually, yeah.
The reason we're growing so fast is because, obviously we have an amazing team, unbelievable team, and everybody is inspirational. So we have customers, we have in-house engineers, we have operational team. And I think when you feel that you can touch somebody's life, and you really are in this business, because whatever you're going to produce is going to tell this patient if they're doing better or not, right? It really is impactful, and it's a lot of responsibility. So what's difficult, I suppose, you have to kind of process the stress levels of daily accountability for everything from internal to external, and actually push forward. And I think that is a real challenge on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, I think that it's mostly founders. They want to push the founder out. They say if you're a founder and a CEO, you need to go away at some point. But hopefully, it seems like you've got it. You've managed to navigate that, I think. So
that is an interesting concept. They did try to do that with Steve Jobs, right, and pretty much everybody else. But I think to a certain level, a founder CEO is a special breed, and I think it's not for everybody for sure. And you have to leave the company. You don't really have space for other life. This is a life.
That is absolutely true. It becomes your life. So then let's flip that question over. So what's the most rewarding part of your job?
That is a great question. Rewarding, I suppose, everything is rewarding in this business. I think maybe, during COVID, maybe just before COVID, you take a lot of things for granted. You go to a scientific conference and you speak to the most amazing people who are real drivers behind development of innovative drugs. And you kind of may have a dinner or a drink with them, and you talk about science and technology. And you kind of take it for granted because that's kind of normal in our industry. We do speak to creme de la creme of science and technology, right? And then COVID knocked it all back. We sat home. We did not speak to anyone. The only way to communicate was webinar, which was really as a okay way of talking to people one way. I remember us running webinars because I obviously really could not believe we can't reach anyone, And we had at some point 300 people joining our webinars. That's how desperate I think people were to just be together. And I think now, back out of COVID, I appreciate every moment I spend with people talking about their projects, thinking about the future, how that particular project may become a global blockbuster, right? You really take back that, it's good to be reminded how precious is what we do.
Right. So when would you say that you discovered your passion for AI? Is it when you were in Finland or when you were in Leeds? What kind of triggered that, hey, this is what I think I want to do?
AI, to me, AI is logic. Because I'm a mathematician, what makes sense, right? I know it's a bit black and white, but whenever you see a better way of doing certain things, you just can't understand why wouldn't somebody do it better way, right? So AI, I wrote a lot about AI, and there are various stages of AI. The simplest stage of AI is automation, right? If you can just automate a simplistic process of something, why wouldn't you, right? Now everybody understands that, and that's clear to everyone pretty much. Now, the next level of AI, if you have data and you can recognize more information in that data, why would you be scared to recognize this information? And to me, that's the AI which I'm very passionate about. You've got something, you've got a wealth of information at your fingerprint tips, and you need to understand what can you extract. And of course, that's AI, which, I've been doing it for the last 10, 15 years through my studies, through the projects we're running. That is a very interesting AI angle to me.
Right. So I think you've already done a good job of speaking on this, but I'll ask the question anyway, and maybe you can expand. So in layman's terms, what exactly is it that you do at IAG?
So I'm CEO of the business, right? So I run the company. And what it means is that first and foremost, I always look after our clients and key projects and making sure that we deliver meaningful quality information at high speed within the budgets allocated, and we're looking for value add things within that information. My second job is, of course, building business up, right? So looking for other therapeutic areas, looking for complementary skills, thinking what else would be within our reach or maybe just out of our reach, and how to grow the business up. So we're very interested in collaborations. We collaborate with key opinion leaders, with other vendors, imaging vendors. We collaborate with AI players ourselves. So we really power that growth up. And I think the third, which goes without saying, is our people, right? So you have to look at the in-house teams. You have to think about the teams. You have to enjoy being around teams. And now we have 3 offices in Asia, US, and Europe. And it's become a little bit more difficult. So we try to bring people together. So from time to time.
That is, so you bring them together physically?
Sometimes physically at the conferences, so where it makes sense. Mm-hmm. Sometimes physically in one of our offices. We're only just out of COVID, right? So we have to think of new ways of working together and collaborating.
So when you think, as far as what the company itself does, we talked a little bit about your original thing was take an image and then make colors out of it, right? Color coded almost. And then you went to the cloud. What other endeavors have you guys taken on now in the company?
So that simplistic way of data management and data analytics could be taken in different therapeutic areas. So IAG are very strong in certain therapeutic areas. So immunology, rheumatology, oncology, neurology, and now we expanded into new areas. For instance, we publicly announced partnership with Takeda in gastroenterology. They have a fantastic drug and they want to prove using histology slides, so how the drug really works. So we're working with them on AI project and we're recognizing cells and we're counting cells in histology slides. And that's a pure AI play aiming to support evidence of somebody becoming better due to the treatment impact. For us as a business, it's a new area of gastroenterology, right? So it's a fascinating field where we've been now for 3 years and built a great client base. But you take that concept of data management, data processing, AI expertise, and it's endless. You can look at so many areas. You can look at partnerships with other companies. You could look at expanding your own business. So I don't think it's ever gonna go away.
No, you've done a really good job of explaining this, because when I think of AI, medical isn't where I think about it, right? I mean, I think about Fahrenheit 451 and artificial intelligence being something. Now, of course, what's in the news is ChatGPT and all these other ones. So it's really fascinating to see what you've done with AI within the medical community.
Absolutely. But I think medical is really embracing it now, because obviously there are older people, population is getting older. You have more chronic diseases. You cannot afford not to do it. And to me, is just looking around us, right? So if you take a condition such as rheumatoid arthritis, psoriatic arthritis, osteoarthritis, huge market. In osteoarthritis, no treatments. Why is that? Because we can't yet prove that the treatment is working efficiently. And why can't we do it? Because there is a certain sophistication around trial design. And that almost takes a separate topic in its own right. So AI there could really help. Oncology, on the other hand, which is another medical field where we all could do with better treatments, you only have a handful of patients, so you can have a handful of data. How do you use this data wisely? How do you deploy more sophisticated measures to understand treatment impact or patient response at the earliest possible stage? Because here you can save somebody's life and you can impact a new treatment paradigm. So that's how the blockbusters are being born, right? You start with 10 patients and you hope for the best. And if you actually use data instead of hoping for the best, or both, you could move much faster.
Hope for the best and use data to support your results. I like that.
You have to hope for the best with oncology, right?
Well, that concludes part 1 of my conversation with Dr. Olga Kubassova. Coming up in part 2, Dr. Kubassova offers her advice to those wanting to start their own companies.
Well, first, to be very sure you want to do it and remember the reasons behind it. Maybe write them down and look at them from time to time, because it's hard. And then another advice I would say is don't give up easily. I know there is a lot of culture of giving up so easily and, okay, I'm not a unicorn, by tomorrow I give up. It takes time and it takes effort and it takes everything out of you to succeed. And I think if you're there, just being there, it's already a success. So not giving up and having a lot of courage to just be what you want to be.
Thanks for listening to The Conversation. To find out more about Clint, go to clintonmpaget.com and pick up Clint's book, How Teams Triumph, Managing by Commitment, at Amazon. The Conversation with Clinton M. Paget is a production of Forbes Books.